Hi, and welcome to the Crit Hit Wild podcast, where we cover all things Marvel Crisis Protocol, and we do a new character every week. This week, we're going to be talking about Frankenstein's monster, and I'm your host, Fred.
I'm Brad.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Steven.
And we are tired today, everyone. Yesterday, we went to Pittsburgh for the BECC tournament there, and we did a 5-rounder, and
Fred,
we're all tired.
Fred's just not going to mention that it was also an LVO qualifier.
There's also an LVO qualifier. And we're all tired. So bear with us. We're gonna do some things a little bit more quickly, and we're gonna spend a lot more time on the tournament today. I think we're skipping trivia. We may skip some other things, but we will continue on with the podcast to the best of our ability, given our impaired mental states. Okay, let's begin by talking about some tournaments that are coming up. There is one on October the 12th at Lost Legion Games and Comics that will be run by Brad. I will not be present for that one, unfortunately. I'm going to be at the Ohio Ren Fair. So,
In
I'm gonna be-
Waynesville?
I think so. I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the one that has the village built and everything.
Yep, that one. It's fun.
Mhm.
I like going. It's and we're gonna have fun there instead of having fun at a tournament run by Brad. But other people should come. Come on down, everyone from Pittsburgh. Those of you who listen, Brad would love to have you.
I would.
Then coming up on the 19th of October is Second Wind. That's in Chicago, and that's a big one. That's another big one, and I will be attending, as will Brad, as will Michael, and we will have more information probably on the 20th or whenever we do another record. The record afterwards.
I doubt we're going to record in the hotel room right after, Fred.
Why not? What's wrong with doing that?
I think we're gonna.
What's wrong with that?
I think we're going to skip a
craziness?
week.
I think you're probably right. All right. Well, let's move on to news and announcements. Okay, we've gotten a couple things, including a very interesting piece of information and something that's very frustrating for Brad. All right, thing one. Warpath is back. It's been unrotated out for whatever reason.
Yay!
Yeah,
the
sure.
people called for it, Fred, and the people got
Yeah,
what
sure.
they wanted.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So that's thing one. There are some new restricted cards. Those cards are Fallback, Brothers in Arms, and interestingly, Research Station, the Crisis. I think that this is this the first time that they've restricted a Crisis card,
I
or
don't. Someone said that on one of the discords, and I don't think that's true, because I think they restricted Panic before they banned it.
okay. Well, they have restricted Research Station for those of you who hate to see Research Station. Interesting.
This one the people really did call for. This and Brother in
Yeah.
Arms. People are like, Bill and New Thor are not fair, and something needs to be done about it. And you know what? AMG did something pretty quickly this time.
Yeah. This was a quick response. And then Fallback, that's just oh boy. Can I be honest? Right now I couldn't tell you what Fallback did off the top of my head.
When you are targeted with an attack, you can pay 2, I think, and play the card. And after the attack is resolved, you can move short away from the attacker.
That's right. That's right.
That is correct. It was in my roster for the tournament.
It was in mine as well. Never played it. It's probably the most taken neutral card before this restriction. And good players.
Hard wrong. Hard wrong.
No, it was. At least by good players.
I promise that is 100% incorrect.
You think it's
Because
recalibration matrix?
it is recalibration matrix, and the
It's.
statistics back me up drastically.
Did you look at all the statistics?
Yeah.
Okay. Good players use this card well, and bad players like me
Yes.
don't take it.
Yes. It is played a lot, but it's up there with recalibration matrix. As
Oh. All of you plebs that don't have strategic retreat intrinsically in your lists,
Fred, we can't
who
all
don't have
play
spider
Spider
foes
Foes.
abilities. All right.
Well,
Well, oh,
I
yeah.
want to ask a question about fallback. If
Sure.
fallback goes onto the restricted list, is there a chance that we might see disarm come off?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Because out of the restricted cards, disarm is like the redheaded stepchild. It's really never played.
Yeah, it's kind of like, who plays disarm? No one plays disarm anymore.
No. The
I
problem
don't
is,
know.
I think if it comes off the list, it gets played all the time.
I would
Yeah.
rather have disarm than fallback.
Yeah, that's kind of my
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting question.
I talked to me and Brad, and then I talked to two other people who had fallback on their list, and we all agreed that like we're probably just never going to play it again since it's restricted.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to end up happening with fallback. It's just going to fall into the never gets touched again
It's going to fall
category.
back into the never touched again category.
But one
Well,
thing though,
yeah, well said.
it did see a ton of play in like Hellfire Club and like Wakanda and Web Warriors, so like it does make sense in a sense that it
Those
got like
those make sense for it to be played as well.
yeah
Those
like it got
definitely
played
make
in the
sense.
like like the top affiliations were playing it. Like I think that was kind of their way of trying to take those percentages and get them closer down a little bit. Like giving them a little bit, but like honestly, Hellfire Club's the only one that really probably needed that card. Wakanda has enough affiliated cards, and so do Web Warriors, that like it's probably not super relevant.
It was really good in Web Warriors though.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah.
Well, from past experiences, they usually put stuff on the restricted list for the fact that either one, they're going to leave it there, or two, they're doing a rework on something. So,
Yeah, that might be what's happening. That might be what's up. Okay, so those are the and then let's, before we give short shrift to it, let's talk about Research Station real quick.
It shouldn't exist.
Research Station.
This was not far enough.
It's Research Station is probably one of the most hated crisis cards. Crisis affiliate. It is the one that's an extract, but it's actually a secure. And everyone hates it. It's a low scoring one, and it's one that benefits an attrition team by a big margin. When I say everyone hates it, obviously attrition teams love it, but it makes it very hard to score a lot of points in a game. It makes the game last until like round 6, and an attrition team will punch a scenario focused team into the dust by then. So that's really the problem. That's why it is so.
I think this is one of the strongest arguments against Borka's thoughts that they are moving the game more towards attrition.
Well, I don't think that Borka's thoughts are they are actively moving the game towards attrition. I think that is just a natural
The
thing that seems to
causality
be
of the
occurring.
power creep that's happened.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
well,
the power creep that's
either
occurring.
way, this shows that their thoughts are on that and that they're making strives to move to keep scenario in the game, because
Yeah, I agree.
this
I
is
agree.
one of the big pieces of tech for those attrition teams.
Yeah, yeah.
This is 1/6 of the time.
Also, like it's really hard to have a successful miniatures game that is completely focused on just killing the opponent.
Right, because it would just come down to dice, and that's especially with these dice, that sucks. That's just not fun.
I
Well,
wouldn't
I
play
mean,
this game if that was the case.
Yeah.
you could always make the argument that, attrition for the longest time in this game had been downed by scenario, especially with Web Warriors or a Kingpin on Scoundrels. And those things
Fuck
still
Kingpin.
exist in the game.
Brad's still salty after this tournament.
No,
I think you're right. Like, because a player that's a very good um, player of a scenario focused team has an advantage over a player that's a very good player of an attrition focused team because they're going to try and win before round 3 before the attrition can really start catching up. I think that does not mean that attrition doesn't work because it does. It does work. But
it just doesn't work fast enough.
right. That's the thing. This game is a race to see who can chase down whether the scenario team can chase down 16 points before the attrition team kills too many of their models. And I think that's an interesting play, and that's a balance beam that's going to be a constant thing that they're going to have to adjust and they're going to have to add things to and take things away from in order for this game to remain a stable and fun game to play. And
Yeah.
obviously that's going to be part of the discussion that we're going to have consistently over the lifetime of this game.
Right now, I think this game favors scenario at a 70 to 30 clip.
I think that I agree with you that it favors scenario. I don't know if I agree if it's that close. Or it might. I think it may favor scenario a little bit more than that.
I would say before the restriction on researcher, it might have been 60-40, but now with the restriction, it might have dropped quite a bit.
Okay. Well, I think that this is a sign that AMG are watching what happens and they care about what happens, and we'll just keep
This
watching what occurs.
this has been too nuanced and and central and even-handed analysis of what's going on for a podcast. So I'm going to fix it. AMG hates attrition. They want it to die, and they're going to kill it. And all you attrition
Excuse me.
players are never going to have fun ever again.
Excuse me for trying to do this in a okay, I'm gonna shut up. I'm
It's
having
for the
trouble putting my
views,
thoughts
Fred.
together.
It's for the views. You have to have extreme opinions on a podcast to get people to listen.
Yeah, we need to drive up engagement. Everyone.
Brad has so much hate. So much hate.
He really does. You haven't played him in a while. He's angry.
Yeah, I know.
I think
Sounds like
that
it.
Steven said Brad, but I think Brandon was referring to me.
Yes.
The spoiler alert, I played against Brad and I kept telling him to eat a dick during our game in the tournament.
That's
Yeah.
accurate.
Why me and Nick were just trying to have a really good time, and you were just over there. Fuck you, Brad.
Oh, we had a good time. Okay, is there anything else that we need to talk about in regards to these changes to the rotational menu?
Warpath might see a good amount of play now.
Yeah, I mean, Warpath change. I think that Warpath coming back might be like opening up. They thought to themselves, we need to bring something for all the people who won't have fallback. Warpath is no fallback, obviously, but it
It's
is
kind of
another
the-
piece of movement shenanigans.
It's kind
It's
of
the
the
opposite. Yeah, but it's
Like they
movement
want you
shenanigans.
to. It's like they want you to be more in someone's face than away from them. Like they want you to fight them more.
Oh boy, let's just move on. Okay, another thing. We know what the affiliations are for Angel and Archangel. Brad, do you want to take this one?
Angel is Uncanny X-Men and nothing else. Not really a surprise. Archangel is Apocalypse and X-Force. That's it. He is not Uncanny X-Men, despite being on the cover of X-Men #1, the most sold comic in history. Comic period. Not X-Men comic. The most sold comic in history is X-Men #1, where he is clearly Archangel on the cover with his magenta and whatever suit, the metal wings. I do not understand this. This makes no sense.
I
I go back to my former statement. Brad is mad.
Yeah, you were correct. He's full of hate. He's full of salt in his soul.
It's
Uh,
so
Play him
dumb.
in X Force, play him as a splash, and move on with your life.
I definitely gonna play him in X Force, but he should be Uncanny X-Men. He just
yeah.
should.
Were you looking forward to putting him into a Cyclops list? Is that
Yeah. But also, it's the
yeah?
principle of the thing, Fred. He should be Uncanny X-Men. He was on X-Men
Yeah.
Gold.
And so should Deadpool.
No.
Well, here's the thing: is the X-Men roster is deep and effective, and adding.
Th-
I'm taking the opposite side here. I don't disagree with you, Brad. It makes sense that he should be an X-Man,
he
and the fact that
should.
he is not is a little bit weird. But there's probably a balancing concern that they were thinking about. That's kind of what I think
Here's the
is
thing. There's
is
other weird decisions that they've made with affiliations. This is the most egregious.
okay. This is the worst one.
This is the
He's
worst one.
also he's
Actually,
not
no.
like
I,
that good that he's gonna push them over the top or anything like that.
No.
You're right. You're right. He's not. He's not like a broken model in that affiliation. He's just going to be he would just be another tool for them to use. And it's weird that he's not an X-Men.
I would say this is not. I would kindly say this is not the most egregious. The most egregious is Silver Sable not having her own leadership, and
No.
well,
Oh boy. Here we go again. Okay, so I think that the one thing is that these two models do not share an affiliation, which is something they said that they wouldn't do anymore. I think this box might be an odd case because it is the same guy. It's the same guy in both models, so it kind of there is a through line. It's not like just two random models. So I'll give him a pass on that one.
I won't.
Okay, well, the that's our news. That's basically it for news. Uh, all right. Do we want to talk about games played? Let's let's get started on this process because this is gonna take a while. Uh, we played in a tournament yesterday. When I say we, I mean me, Brad, and Brandon. Unfortunately, Steven was not able to make it, but and we desperately missed him. He would have been a great 22nd player, so that we didn't have a bye.
yeah, I saw that. I felt bad.
Yeah, it's
Trust
all
me.
right. It was a ton of fun. It was a 5 rounder, so it really took it out of us. I mean, you could probably tell from all of our voices that we are exhausted, and but it was a blast. I will do it again before I die, almost certainly. Uh, Bryce runs a really good tournament, and it was a great group of people who showed up. I'm really happy with how everything played out. Uh, I didn't do great, but we'll cross that as we go through. Uh, do we want to just dive in? Let's just dive in. Let's just get started. Uh, my round one. Let's start with me. Uh, my round one opponent. I'm trying to fill space because I'm trying to find it. My round one opponent was a gentleman named Josh. Not the Josh from our store. I'm trying not to use last names also, everyone. So just so for people's safety. He was playing Criminal Syndicate, but he was playing MODOK Criminal Syndicate, which is not something that I'm used to seeing. This game was it felt pretty close until he started really running away with it. This game was on Struggle for the Cubes and Intrusions, and it ended 16-12 in his favor. Uh, I was playing Doc Ock. It was a threat value of 19, so I don't even remember who I was, but Doc Ock, Rhino, and Green Goblin were my core, and I also had Lizard,
And a 4.
and the other 4 would have been Sandman. It would have been Sandman in this fight. And I'm not going to be able to pull out what he had. He had MODOK. He had Winter Soldier, the 4-point Winter Soldier, to be around MODOK and shooting things, and he had some other models. Oh, and he had Loki, 5-point Loki. And that's relevant because his 5-point Loki was an absolute stud this entire game. He rolled his Loki always seemed to roll hot, and I always seemed to roll skulls whenever I was interacting with it, either attacking or defending. And that means that my skulls count for him. And that also means that he always killed things. I think that Loki killed my Sandman before he could activate in round 2, a KO. He dazed him round 1 with one well-placed Mystic attack, and then KO'd him round 2 before he could activate, which really set me on the back foot for the rest of this game. But it was a good time, and he was a good opponent, and he ended up being, I believe that he ended up getting in second. So good on him. Congratulations. That's my round one. Who would like to go next? Let's call on Brad. How was
Hi,
your round
I'm
one?
Brad. I played against Jason round 1, who's playing Hellfire Club. And we got Paranoia and Deadly Meteors and 16 Threat. And Deadly Meteors meant I must have won the... Oh, it shows me. I did win initiative. He picked 16. I played Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Bishop, and Psylocke. He played Emma Frost, of course, Iron Man, Toad, he had 2 more models. Hold on, let me look at his list real quick.
I mean,
Rhino,
we don't have to get every. Okay.
that's true. I don't know. Anyway,
We're gonna be here forever if we say if we try
yeah,
to
if we
dredge
try to
up
do every
model and
list.
every
Okay,
list.
we'll just skip that. Anyway, it was a very close game. I had to run away with Nightcrawler at one point, which he's very good at, and then he ended up dazing him with Toad. He
Oh wow.
he dazed Cyclops pretty quickly, but I got to double beam a bunch of his models and take them off the table, so that was cool. And ended up 2012, but it was closer than those numbers make it sound to be, because we were very close until the end when I got to kill a bunch of his models.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Do you
I'm
have
done.
anything?
I'm done.
Okay. Brandon, what was your round one like?
Round 1, I played Gilberto, or Gil, and I he is an amazing opponent, and we played a really good game, and we were the last ones done. Um, and we played. It was, I think, 17 threat. Yeah, 17 threat. Sorry, I have all the rosters down because I took notes, unlike the rest of you heathens. Um, he played Emma, Bill, Iron Man, Lizard, and Zemo.
I thought you had all these down.
Yeah, well, I was looking at something else, so I'm going back to it.
Okay, okay.
Yep. So,
It's just funny. You make a point of
yeah.
pointing out that we don't know anything, and then you really struggle to get his list down.
Yeah, well, I play my 17's easy. Mine's Kingpin, Shadowland, Daredevil, Black Cat, Lizard, Miles. Um, so we played 17. We played Mutant Extremist and Infinity Formula. Um, I had priority. We went to round 5. The game finished 25-22.
In
And
Gilberto's favor.
yeah, Gil won. He got revenge from the Brew Brawl back in March when we also had an absolute amazing game. I love playing him. He's a great person to play and talk to. He plays really well, so it was a really fun game. I hated that it was round 1. That was the first thing. We got to the table, we just looked at each other and was like, "This isn't supposed to be round 1. This is not a round 1 game." Um, so we played. We had a good time. Um, I want to say we talked about fallback as well, in the thing that talked about probably we won't be playing it going forward. Um, but all in all, it was a really good game, and all my games, you'll find out every game I played was an absolute barn burner, and it was annoying. So this was one of the largest margin of victories in my day, which was a 3-point loss. So
Yeah. Yikes. You had a long day.
yeah, so we played. We almost went to time, but we finished up. It was a really good game. It was great seeing him and playing him. And then we talked about Dracula, and it was a great time.
Well, good. I have never had the pleasure of playing against Gil, and I would like to at some point. But for that to happen, I need to go into a tournament with uh, a winning beginning, which I haven't done in a while.
You don't have to, Fred. Brandon
I
just
could be
played
paired
him
against him
first
round 1.
round. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I just need to be paired against him first round. That's what it takes. Okay, so we went up there with 2 other people from West Virginia. That is the other Brandon, uh, and Borka. The other Brandon was playing Black Order, and he played against a gentleman named Greg, and he scored 19 victory points to Greg's 8. Uh, I don't know much about this game, but I feel like not many people were expecting to see Black Order, and Brandon is very good at playing Black Order. Like he's become an excellent Black Order player. So, uh, congratulations to him. You will see his record in this tournament will reflect how good of a player he has become. Uh, and then Borka played a gentleman named Brian. On round 1, Borka was playing his Criminal Syndicate against Brian's. I don't even know what that symbol is. I'm not even sure what that. I anyway. Borka won 18-8. Okay, let's move on to round 2. My round 2 opponent was the same opponent that Brad had in round 1. His name was Jason. He was a very good opponent, and he was playing Emma Frost. This was on Paranoia Pummel's Populous and Infinity Formula, and we were playing at 17 threat. This game ended in his favor, 17-16. This was a marginally close game. This was I actually this is most of my games were very very close games, but he pulled out a win. He had a very very effective last turn play, where he was able to knock one of my people out, pick up a paranoia token, and stand on an infinity formula that all of which I was not planning to have happen. It just things went well for him at just the right time, where he was able to pull out a win, because I felt like I was going to win this game going into the last round, and he through the quality of his play. I'm not saying anything about he pulled this out through playing very well. So congratulations, Jason. He sent me into a 0-2 stat going forward in this tournament. I am not doing well so far. Okay, Brad, what was your second
Hi, I'm
round?
Brad. Second round, I played Gilberto, who Brandon played first round, and we had Scrolls and Gamma, so he won priority. And I picked 20 threat because he had Bill and Thor 2 in there, and so I was pretty sure I was going to see Bill and Thor 2. And probably Emma at 15, which was the other choice. And I didn't want to face that at 15. So I faced it at 20 so that he could add Iron Man and someone else, I think. And I played Cyclops and Cable and Nightcrawler and Psylocke and a 3-pointer. It was Domino. This was a very interesting match. I kept pushing Bill away at the beginning of the game with Cyclops to keep him out of the fight. He eventually got him there, and by the time he got him there, because of the Hellfire Club, he was fully healed. So that sucked. Thor was not doing any damage, and so not getting any power, and so I was ignoring him to attack other people. So Iron Man died very quickly. Emma died by the end of the game. And I had like at one point 3 models on his Gamma. I was playing scenario very hard, trying to get to 16 points before him, and I was a point or two behind him the entire game. So I was like really trying to eke out those points and get ahead of him. So at the end of the game, I'd end up ahead of him, and I just couldn't ever quite get there. And then at the end of the game, he only has Thor and Bill left. And most people, but they're injured. And he takes out Cable at the end of the game. Like, Cable went from fully healthy to dazed and then KO'd by Thor in the end of one turn to the beginning of the next. Like, completely gone. And then Emma's sitting on my Gamma. And if things don't change, it's going to be awful. So my 1 health Nightcrawler manages to get across the board and take out Emma, who I think was at 1 health, and be on my home Gamma. And then he activates Bill and has to move in and make an attack and has to deal 1 damage to take out Nightcrawler. If he does, I lose the game. And I block out and I double move Domino, who's like out in the middle of Timbuktu, onto his Gamma and score just squeaked it over the edge to 16, which he said after the game he didn't even count how many points I could have made, and it might have changed his decisions at the end of the game because he didn't realize I could actually make it to 16. He thought I'd fall short, and then the next turn, Bill and Thor can just kill everybody, basically. But I got there. It was very close. The score ended up 16-13. But like I said, if it had went one more turn, I probably would have lost. If he had knocked out Nightcrawler right there, that would have made it go to another turn, and I only had a flipped Domino and a flipped Psylocke left. So it was
Oh
not
boy.
going to be good next turn. So I'm now 2-0.
Well done, Brad. Okay, Brandon, do you want to talk about your second round opponent?
I played the Kingpin Mirror.
Yep.
Because fuck me. Um, but I
Yeah, get
played
fucked.
a guy named Bob Ross. That's his name on here. I don't actually know if that's his real name. Um, I kind of hope it's not, but if I just said your name, I'm sorry. Um, we played Superpower Scoundrels, Spider Infected. For some reason in this game, he won initiative. Selected his extracts, and then I let him choose the point value. Uh, I don't really know what happened. I was really like the Gilberto game really took a lot out of me. And it was like we were like through deployment and I was like, oh, for the record, I was supposed to pick the point value, which I didn't really care. I would have 100% picked 17 instead of 20. Either way, it didn't really matter. He played Loki, Kingpin, Electro, Killmonger, and Shocker. I played Kingpin, Rhino, Shadowland, Daredevil, Black Cat, Bullseye, and Shuri. Um, I won 17-13 at the end of round 3. He used Loki's area attack and killed Kingpin and um, Shadowland Daredevil on turn 2. Shuri was just able to push his people off of points, and I was able to steal a lot of points that way. Um, I kept Shuri was able to sit on the right F and with a spider infected and a scout and on the scoundrel's point and was able to push him off the center point and off of his home F point. So he spent turns attacking. And moving on points, I would just push him off the points after they activated with Shuri. And I stole a lot of points that way and I won 17-13.
All right. All right. Well done. For the future, I played against this player also, and I will. He played the exact same list that he played against you. Well, I'll go over it in the next round.
Also, Gilberto played Black Cat against me and not Zemo, but it was a different modeled Black Cat, and that's why I had it notated incorrectly.
Oh, okay.
I was sorry.
I'll say this also. His black cat looks awesome. I
Oh,
love the
it
way
is
that he.
yeah, it's an amazing model. But I was like, because even when I said it, I was like, that's why I got confused. I was like, he did not play Zemo against me. Like I would remember it, but he played Black Cat. It was
Okay,
just confusing because I had a picture of it and the model was different. So sorry.
that's all right. The other Brandon played Kirk, and won 19-15, and Borka played against the same person that I played round 1, Josh, and Borka lost this game 17-16. I think that it was a case where Josh's dice were just more than what Borka could soak up in this game, and Josh just managed to pull out a squeaker of a victory.
Was Brandon's game against Kirk? Was Kirk playing Guardians?
Uh,
Yes.
I believe yes, yes he was.
Okay, so I walk over to that game and it's 15-15. The only models that are on the table are Thanos, Proxima, Corvus, a injured with one or two health left, or one health left, Star Lord, and a one health left Drax holding two deadly legacy viruses on the complete opposite side of the board. He misses. Tries to go through the portal, drops his token because Corvus had a token, rolls a blank, gets placed in the center, interacts again, rolls a blank, goes back to the other portal. He moves with Corvus' first action. He moves him up. He pays for the blanks and then rolls his builder and gets a skull that rolls into another skull and 4 blanks
So
and just
5 hits is what
yeah
he just.
it annihilates Star Lord. Um, and eventually, he gets through the portal and he dazes Drax and drops both the Infinity formulas, and that's how he got to 19.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I walked over to that and I was like, nope, I'll leave right now. Because I just see all the models dead, and I'm like, nope, I'm cool. I'm out. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Brandon is really like the Black Order is a terror with him. He kills the world.
I don't think he's
Okay.
ever beat me.
Okay. Well, play against him again. All right. So, my round 3, I played the same opponent that Brandon played, and he played the exact same list. We were playing at 20 threat at Scrolls and Extremis, and Riot Spark over Extremis terminals. And so this is a D setup for the secure, and I feel like this was a case where it really shows how high the ceiling is on Kingpin for difficulty to play and how to manage a changing battlefield. So I want to give a lot of credit to Brandon and to Borka for the way that they play Kingpin. Kingpin is a very hard leadership to play. It's not just move up and take points. That's kind of
Disagree.
how it feels like from Brad and my perspective sometimes, because we are playing against two highly proficient Kingpin players. This was a case where I was playing against someone who doesn't have the same reps with Kingpin, and I could really, really tell because I was able to isolate all of his models onto 2 of the 4 riots, and then I collected all of the extracts and just hid from him. And there was nothing he could do. Like he was just unable to do anything to come over and get the stuff back. And I was able to pull this game out 17-14. Uh, we both played Electro, and Electro on a D is fantastic. I really love like on a back point. My Electro just sat on the back point and was a terror to the rest of his list for the entirety of this game. I of course lose Doc Ock very early on, but I could make do without Doc Ock. I could survive, and yeah, this game went very well for me. So this was my first win of the tournament against Bob, and he was a good opponent, and he was a fun person to play against. But
He was a
just
super cool guy.
yeah, I liked him. This is just I wanted to give some credit to Brandon and to Borka about Kingpin. Okay, Brad, what was your second? What was your third round?
So I was doing really well in this tournament, and then I ran into fucking Kingpin. So I played against Jeff. We ended up with Scrolls and Infinity Formula because he won.
We all played Jeff.
Yeah, I think so.
Did
I
Jeff
did not
just go
play
through the gauntlet?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Because he won initiative, so we had to play his secures. And in my personnel opinion, Kingpin's automatically winning that game if he picks his secures, and then I have to overcome that and try to win. And Jeff was a very good Kingpin player.
He's a very good Kingpin player.
And he played differently than Brandon plays a little bit, even though I felt like his roster was a lot different. But then when we were talking about in the car, he only played one model different than Brandon plays, and is a model Brandon would play because it was Blob.
He in his list he had 4 different models than I did.
Yeah.
But I have played every model in his list. I have played except for one with Kingpin.
Which one
And
haven't you played?
Doc Ock.
Oh, okay.
He plays new Doc Ock.
I don't think that. I think that's in there so he can flex into.
Yeah, his option
Spy
instead of Shadowland Daredevil, he has Doc Ock.
Yeah. I would have much
I have
rather
played
played
everyone
against
else.
Doc Ock.
I have played every other model and every tactics card. Besides, he has Sinister Traps and custom upgrades. I've played every other card, and I
Damn.
have played every one of his Crisis. We have the exact same secures. We have one different extract. He has cubes. I have senators.
Mm. Uh, so he to my point that you just go stand on points. Kingpin went and stood on one of his Infinity formulas and did literally nothing all game. He passed every turn with Kingpin and just stood there. Uh,
That's all he has to do.
that's
That's
all
all
he
that
has to
Kingpin
do.
has to do.
Early
I
in
mean,
the
that's
game,
fine. Yeah.
first turn, Psylocke did all but one damage to a Rhino that was standing on my B. And man, if I had got that one damage, because he had an extract, he was on my B, like this could have gone a lot better. But I didn't do that one damage, and he ran away, which was giving me. I recently played Borka in a Kingpin game where his Rhino ran away, and that helped me win the game. It did not help me win the game this time. The game ended up 2010. Like, it wasn't even very close. Um, Blob was invincible. I was making energy and mystic attacks at him all game. I think he took one damage.
This Blob's great.
And he didn't even, it's not even that he paid to reduce.
Way to go, Fred.
He's
Way
the
to go,
best
Fred.
Fred there is.
It
So
is.
it was rough. He also got, he didn't need this. Like, this was just icing on the cake. I had like stolen, he stole my side scroll, and I used Toad to take his, and he failed the roll and got pushed, and then he beat Toad up real bad early in the game, and that sucked. Like, it would have been nice if Toad didn't do that, and I could score some more victory points, but whatever. I lost.
Yeah. Jeff, I've played against Jeff before at Columbus, and he's a very good Kingpin player, and he plays slightly differently than Brandon and Borka do,
Yeah.
in a noticeable way. When I played against him, he did not have Doc Ock or Spider Foes Flex like the Sinister Traps and Custom Upgrades cards. I like to think that that's because I played well against him. That's
Yeah,
not
we're
what
not
that's.
giving you any credit for
No,
that.
no.
My
Yeah,
round
no,
three,
no.
my round three, I played. We're just gonna skip you. You're just being stupid now. All right, my round three, I played David Brown or David from Morgantown. He's a great guy. We had a good time. He's playing X-Men. He played. Let's see here. We got Wheels, Nightcrawler, Magic, Cable, and Shadowcat. I played Kingpin, Shadowland Daredevil, Bullseye, Black Cat, Miles, Lizard. Uh,
Did you say Wheels?
yeah,
Professor Xavier. Okay. All right.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Sorry.
We played Scoundrels and Extremists at 19 threat. Um, I won initiative, right? Yeah, I had priority, won initiative. So we played my secures. We got Scoundrels. He had Extremists. His weren't too like different, so it wasn't like super crazy. I scored 9 points in round one. The game ended at the end of three, 16-15, because he just killed everybody. Um,
Wow. What a
yeah,
comeback after nine 9 points down.
yeah, it was kind of miserable to be honest. Like it was gross. I was just trying to stand on points and hope for the best. Like, because I mean, every time he rolled dice, like it was one of those like I just couldn't do anything. Like every time he rolled dice, he just was like six. And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess. Cover? No, okay, yeah, okay. Scoundrels did help me. There were two things. He could have very easily won this game. He did not. He let my grunts with Shadowland Daredevil gore. They never died. They picked up a mutant and never died. Um, he never attacked them until like the very end of the game. Um, So like they were just able to score a lot of points. I think he just kind of was more focused on other stuff, and he made a judgment call at the end to leave a point. Well, move slightly off a point with Cable to try to kill Kingpin, who had played Shadow Organization. He was not able to finish the damage off. I was able to move. Um, I was able to move Bullseye onto that point and win 16-15. Because if it goes otherwise, we probably tie at 16, and then it is just the most miserable next game because he has already just put a ton of damage on my models. Um, the weird thing, and we talked about this yesterday, at this point, none of my models have been KO'd in any of the games.
That is weird.
And
That's strange.
that does not change. Like I ran through everything. I did not have a single model KO'd the entire tournament, except for probably had the most models KO'd because my grunts die a lot. But yeah, I don't have a single model die in this event. So, and it was
Okay.
16-15. To go back to this,
Really close games theme that you're going through in this tournament.
yeah, this was the second of the absolute. Not and the game with Bob was like it was a good game. I like the Shuri tech just was something he was not ready for and not something he had any plan against. So being one wider with worse models, but forcing his action economy to be completely based around having to try to move back onto points to play the game wasn't something he could necessarily handle. But Dave played really well, and it was a really good game. 16. He was really upset with himself until I moved his points to 15, and he was like, "Oh, I did really well." I'm like, "Yeah, like this game goes another round, I don't have a chance. Like I'm dying. Like my team is dying." Um, so we finished 16-15 in a 1 point barn burner at the end of 3 because what is life?
Yep. Yep. That is really close for having started the game getting nine points in the first
Yeah.
round.
If it's okay, I'm gonna do my round 4 real quick because I need to go do something real quick while you
Oh,
guys
okay.
talk.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So round 4, I played Nick Angelo, who I love dearly. He's an amazing person. He's from the Pittsburgh area. I finally got to play him. We've avoided each other forever. We've talked a bunch. We've just never got to play. So we played my secures, his extracts. I won the die roll. We played 19 threat, riots, and legacy virus. I played Kingpin, Shadowland, Daredevil, Shang-Chi, Black Cat, and Rhino. And he played Nick Fury, Namor, Rhino, Zemo, and Spectacular Spider-Man. This I played a lot of good games. I played a lot of close games. This game was the closest game I played, and it wasn't even close. Um, like everything about everything that happened. At one point, his Namor had 6 damage on him. With the extremist, he ended up having like 1 damage on him at the end of the game. I was able to at one point push Namor away and then um, stagger him to where he couldn't do a whole lot. And I got to spend my second action of Shang-Chi to move back onto a point. So it put Namor kind of out. That was the last round of the game. We had a really big fight on my home D with his Zemo, his Rhino, and he brought Nick Fury over for my Shang-Chi and my Rhino. Kingpin got a Senator and sat on the right side D the entire game, and he just kind of ignored him, and he scored me 2 points every single round. It was wonderful. I loved it because I didn't have to worry about. And as he talked about it, he was like, "Well, I couldn't really go over there because then Kingpin had like, at this point, had like 5 power. So he's like, he just hail to the kings me and then throws me twice, and I probably whoever goes over there just dies." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably right." Uh, it just is. I mean, it's like statistically, it should be the way that works out. So it was just kind of a weird spot. He was just able to sit over there. After the game, I don't remember what it was because I was really tired, but he had talked through a play that may have extended the game, or possibly let him win. I can't exactly remember. But he had a play that he talked about that would I think it would have extended it one more round. This finished at the end of 18 to 17. Um, because I'm not allowed to play any game that doesn't come down to literally the last activation. Um, the last three rounds of this tournament. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, uh, I've never played against Nick. Usually
yeah,
because he's in the winners bracket and I am not.
after this we were 2-1. I was 3-1 after this, so
Yep.
we were in a good spot. I everyone I played was really good. I luckily dodged everyone that we came with. I didn't play anyone that came with us. I did play two people from. I did play people I knew. Played two people from Pittsburgh, one person from Morgantown, and then Gil. So I mean, I played people I knew, but it was people I don't get to play all the time. So it was really nice to play against them. So I was very
Okay.
happy with that outcome. So
Yeah, that's always good. I'm gonna take us back to round 3 real quick and tell everyone out there. Borka played against Kirk. Kirk was playing Guardians of the Galaxy versus Borka's Kingpin, and Kirk won this game 24-9. I don't know the details, but just looking at that tells me that Guardians of the Galaxy just went off. And I think that Borka said during the ride back that he finally understood what he had been doing to because Borka plays Guardians of the Galaxy a lot. He understands what he had been doing to people the entire time.
Yep. Oh, Fred,
uh
speaking
oh,
of affiliations, I meant to tell you this
mhm.
earlier, but Brian was doing A-Force. That's the A-Force symbol.
That's the A-Force symbol. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. That explains it. Uh uh and then the second Brandon played against Savage, and this is a bad matchup, I think, for the Black Order. This is Savage was playing Web Warriors, and he was playing a Venoms-based Web Warriors team, which is a very good team. And Savage won this game 17-9. This is the other Brandon's only loss in this tournament. That is an impressive showing.
And he said this
Uh,
is his worst matchup as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he did all right. I mean, 9 points against Web Warriors. That's impressive. Okay, let's move into round 4. We've already heard Brandon's round 4. So my round 4 opponent was a guy named Brad. So Brad, do you want to take this one?
My opponent was an asshole. His name was
That's true.
Fred, and
Yep.
he yelled at me and told me to eat a bag of dicks multiple times and was just very rude the
I
entire game.
did.
I hope I
I
never have
was.
to play him again. Uh, I won initiative and we got sword base and we played his scrolls, which is in my list anyway. So that feels pretty good when you get both of your scenarios.
Mhm.
He picked 20 threat, which is fine. I played Cyclops. I'm blanking on a lot of this game right now. It was
Uh
Doc Ock leadership. I remember that.
Yeah, I played Doc Ock. I played Green Goblin, Rhino, uh, and then Bullseye, Craven the Hunter, and Lizard. You had Cable, I remember, and
Yeah,
you had X-23,
Cable
uh,
X23, Psylocke, uh, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, because that's what I
Nightcrawler,
would
and
have
yep.
played in this scenario.
And this is a case where I was one model wider than Brad, and that really benefited me.
It did.
That really helped me in this game.
Uh, cra-
Also, him having priority helped me a lot in this game
it
because
sure
I
did.
always had 2 activations after he had done everybody.
Yeah. Not always. Sometimes I would daze a character. And
That's true.
then
That's
you
true.
only had one. It still
Then I
sucked.
had right.
Um, Craven did jack shit.
Yeah, this was a rare case where Craven did nothing.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Lizard
he
did a
got
lot of work.
Lizard did the Lord's work. Um, And over on, so this was split up basically into two sides with sword base, obviously, but it really was more bifurcated than normal, I think, because of the layout of the terrain.
Yeah.
And on the right side, on my right side, his Cable and his Nightcrawler were fighting against Lizard and Craven the Hunter, and we're winning pretty handily. Like I was not winning in that fight, but I did stick it out long enough to really tie up essentially 9 threat of his force with 6 threat of mine.
Yep.
That's kind of how I saw it. Um, and on the other side, I had Rhino, Green Goblin, and Doc Ock fighting against Cyclops, Psylocke, and X-23, and that is a fight that went very well for me. It should also be stated in this game that Brad missed like 6 in a row sword-based flips.
They weren't in a row.
Which
I made 6 or 7 sword-based flips during the game and got one of them.
Yeah,
And that one was in
that
the middle.
really helped me.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that really helped me. And I also feel like I dealt with X-23 very well. Like she did next to nothing this game.
You did have 3 sword bases, so you could push her away.
Yep, I kept her out of the fight, which really helped. And so this game went in my favor, 19-12. And you know who else did really well this game? Bullseye.
Stupid
and-
Bullseye.
Stupid Bullseye. There was a point where Brad had 1 hit point left on Cyclops, and you thought this through later that you should have shot at someone else, but you shot at Bullseye, and all you needed to do was KO. It would have KO'd him had you done like one. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 more damage than you did.
I did 2 and needed 4.
Yeah, you needed to KO him with this attack, and just by circumstance, you only did 2, and then I parting shot you, and that KO'd Cyclops, and that was a huge win for me.
Thankfully, I got to make my second attack before I left the table.
That's true, because he got the speed of sight trigger. Is that what that trigger is called?
Yeah, it's speed of sight.
Yep.
So I got to shoot Doc Ock. How much damage did Doc Ock take from attacking Cyclops?
Oh yeah, like Doc Ock kept attacking Cyclops and kept whiffing, and he kept paying for the 2 cost thing where he gets to do 2 damage to you if you don't do any damage to him. And Doc Ock took a total of 6 damage, I think, over the course of this game, just through that thing, which really hurt.
It was
but
fun.
Yeah,
I liked it.
This game went very well for me, and I was shouting a lot at Brad, but a lot of that's just fun. Just I wasn't. It's not real Brad. I don't think you know that. And I think you need to take sword base out of your list.
I'm
you
not going to be
roll
playing
sword base
the
worth a
list.
damn. Okay.
Sword base is absolutely the right crisis for the list.
Sure. You just can't. It's bad for you because you can't roll it.
Apparently not.
Yeah. All right. Let's. Okay. So actually, let me tell you. The other Brandon played against Les, who is a fantastic X-Men player, and he won this game 16-9. The other Brandon won this game. That is an impressive feat. Well done, the other Brandon. And Borka, hold on. Borka played against a gentleman who is in here under the name of Castan. I do not know who that is. And they Borka won this game 16-7. And so it went quite well for Borka in this one. Is that the Midnight Suns image
Fred,
right there? I
don't
believe that
know.
is the Midnight Suns image.
Give me
So
a second.
Castan was playing Midnight Suns, and Borka won this game pretty handily. Let's move on to the final round, round 5. Oh boy, we've been here a while.
That is Midnight Suns.
Okay, that is Midnight Suns. My final opponent was Dave from Morgantown. I always like playing against Dave. We don't do it enough. I don't see him at enough events, but Dave is a good opponent, and we were playing against hammers, playing on hammers and mutant madmen at a threat value of 18. This game was my side's version of razor thin close. Uh, this game ended 16-15, so this is just the way things go with Dave. But he won this game 16-15. I was going to win the final round, which was round 5. I had enough of the mutant madmen flipped, and I was holding 3 out of 4 of the hammers, that it was gonna be my game to lose. And he pulled a last ditch Hail Mary with oh gosh, what's her name? Oh, why can't I think of her name? Um, she's the long mover who's cost value 3, who's an X-Man. Brad. Shadowcat. Shadowcat was able to grab the one of the hammers, and then I forget the details of this, but she's just so mobile. She slid and moved and was able just barely to make it onto a one of the mutant madmen points, and was able to flip it at just the right time, so that the game ended in his value in his favor, 16-15, which, oh well. Oh well. I can't win them all. That puts me at a final score of 2 wins, 3 losses. But I feel like I played very well. I feel like I definitely had a ton of fun, and I will be attending future events there at Pittsburgh, hopefully.
We
All right.
said that in January too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I was there in January.
Fred
You
wasn't.
weren't. I just like to remind you that you bailed on us in January.
I did. I did bail on you in January. All right, Brad, what was your round 5?
I played Sean from Cleveland. And it was nice getting to meet Sean. He's a very nice guy. And he was playing Defenders. And he won Initiative. So he picked his Secures. And we got Demons Downtown. And we pulled out My Paranoia. And I picked 16 Threat. And I thought that I was going to see something like Daredevil, Namor, and Immortal Hulk. And so I took some tactics cards, mostly Grievous Wounds and Brace, thinking that was what I was gonna see. And apparently he did think about playing that, but doesn't have experience playing tall at low points. And so he went wider and exchanged Immortal Hulk for Shang-Chi and Baron Zemo. And I played, at 16, I played Bishop, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, and Psylocke. And Sean made some interesting plays that caught me off guard. He also was making a mistake of paying for charges and then not moving. And that's just newness to the game. Like, it feels like a charge should power you up, and it doesn't really. The exception for that is Namor can then give out Stagger. So that one may be worth paying for, even if you don't want to.
Definitely worth paying for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but he did that with Shang-Chi, I think, twice, and he can just use his power on other stuff. My Nightcrawler ended up on his Gamma behind, I think it was a big truck, and just kind of sat there most of the game. And he popped up on the truck to make some attacks and then retreated back, but didn't really do much in the game. and then the fight was in the middle and on my gamma. Psylocke flipped Daredevil and stole his paranoia really early in the game, and then Daredevil didn't do too much the whole game because he was so far away. Namor did good work. Baron Zemo did good work. Shang-Chi did nothing until he had like 1 or 2 health left on his backside, and then just wrecked me. He absolutely destroyed me. And
That's Shang-Chi
then
for you, baby.
there was a point at the end of the game. I had Cyclops flipped. He had 1 health left, and he was bleeding. And because I took grievous wounds, I hadn't taken Children of the Atom, which would have solved my problem. I would have just cleared bleed, and he had something else on him and gotten 2 power, and it would have been gravy. But I make my first attack, which is a beam, and I take out his Baron Zemo and his Daredevil, which was on the middle point, and do a bunch of damage to Namor. Like, almost KO him. And now Namor is the only model left on the field for him. And I'm like, well, I gotta try it, so I beam Namor again instead of clearing bleed. I did not take him out, and then I took Cyclops off the table. And then he goes with Namor, and I've got just Nightcrawler, once again, way out of the fight, has already activated this turn. And Psylocke, who is not activated. So he attacks Psylocke twice. She takes a few damage, but survives. And because of that, I could just move on to the middle point. He did leave her at 1, so I couldn't pick up a paranoia. But I could move on to the center point. I'm like 2 points ahead of him. And I score, it was 15-13 at this point. I score 3 points going to 18. He scores 2 points going to 15. Game over. So him not killing Psylocke. I think I win the game anyway because I'm ahead. Yeah. I win the game anyway if he takes out Psylocke. But if he takes out Psylocke on the first hit, he, with his long move and flight, might actually be able to attack Nightcrawler too. And in that case, I maybe lose at that point. But he played really well, especially for being so new to the game. He said he had only played 6 games before the tournament. And he ended up going 2-3, which is as well as Fred did, who's been playing this game for years.
That's true. That's true.
And I ended up going 3-2. So that's it.
All right.
That's my story.
All right. Brandon, do you want to talk about your round 5? Did we? We
I
may not
played
have Brandon.
another
There he is.
Kingpin mirror because what is life? We played.
It was Jeff, wasn't it?
It was Jeff.
Yeah, it was Jeff. We played Extremis on Extremis. So we played Senators on Riots. We played 17. He got entered as 19. We only played 17 threat. I played Kingpin, Shadowland, Shuri, Black Cat, Lizard. He played Kingpin, Rhino, Sandman, Toad, Lizard. It was a good game. I felt bad afterwards because I felt like we were talking a little bit. He was definitely on a rush to get out of there, and I feel like there was a couple times we were talking about the couple things we were talking about that I feel like could have been construed as me trying to say like, oh, you could have done this better, and it really wasn't meant to be that way. So if you're listening to this, like, I was really tired and my words were not coming out correctly. Like, you did a great, like, because he played amazing. Like, there was nothing, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, it was a really good game. Everything went really well for him. We did have a weird scenario with Lizard, but we got it resolved. It wasn't a big deal. Where Lizard actually had dazed, and we didn't notice until he went to healing factor him after Lizard's activation, and removed the damage, and it still had 5 on him. And I was like, wait a second. There's something, and then so we were able to backtrack because his Lizard only like moved, I think he moved and made an attack, but like the attack didn't do any damage, so like everything he did wasn't necessarily super relevant. So we were able to kind of like backtrack it and
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, he moved because he had stagger, so he literally just moved and tried to throw one of my characters that I indomitabled. So like effectively just didn't do anything. So we reflipped my indomitable, we moved Lizard back, we dropped his token, and he activated somebody else. So no harm, no foul. It was late. We had been playing for a long time. He needed to get home to his wife and daughter, or wife and child. I don't know if it was a daughter. I don't know why I said that. I have no idea. I don't know him that well, but he was trying to get home to his family, and I think it was just kind of that way. I had no interest in playing this game in round five. Uh, it was a funny scenario because afterwards, if we would have just been like, all right, yeah, let's just draw, I think we would have finished like fourth and fifth. Which would have he would have finished one. He finished in third, so he would have finished in like fourth. I would have finished in like fifth because of the draw, which would have been kind of funny. That we would have just like he would have been like 1 point, and we just wouldn't have had to play, and we could have just not sat through that
That
grueling game.
that is not something you can do in MCP. You cannot intentionally draw.
We do whatever we want.
No, you can't do that.
There's a draw option when selecting the thing, so we can do whatever we want. Don't listen to Brad, people. He's stupid. I'm just kidding. He's not
In
stupid.
fact, it is impossible in a BECC qualifier to draw a game. Period.
It's really weird because there were two draws in this tournament. Anyway,
There shouldn't have
um,
been.
there was.
Okay, Bryce made it so that shouldn't happen. I don't know what Bryce did. Bryce, I know you're
There was a
listening.
there was a draw because people left and they were playing each other, so he drew it out.
Oh, well, that's weird.
Anyway, we played this game finished 17-16 because, what is life? Um it's this was funny enough came down to completely I he this actually he did KO. He KO'd my lizard. That's what it came down to. It came down to Toad KOing lizard.
Oh
Um
wow. Way to
yeah,
go, Toad.
no, it was stupid. No, it was fine. He KO'd lizard in one attack with Toad. That's besides the point. Um,
Way to go, Toad.
they were sitting on his home D. I think, yeah, I want to say he had already been dazed. Um, Pretty sure he had, but he had 5 health left with damage reduction, and Toad's what 5 power or 5 dice attack dealt like 7 damage.
Them's
Um,
the dice.
yeah,
It's yeah.
yeah, like and the thing, like if it doesn't, yeah, his 5 dice acid attack dealt enough damage to kill the 5 health that was left on Lizard. And that was what happened. If he doesn't do that, Lizard gets to activate. He gets to throw. He gets to attack Toad, and then if he doesn't daze him, he gets to throw him off the point. Um, if he dazes him, he drops the token he's holding. He only scores 15 points, and I would have scored 18 points. And the game would have been different. That's what it came down to. It came down to that, which is pretty much every Kingpin on Kingpin game can come down to like one activation. It did. It did not go my way, but Jeff's a great person and a great opponent, so it was really good playing him. And I have no qualms with the way anything finished, and it was a good tournament and a good event.
All right. I should say now the other Brandon played against Gilbert in round 5 and won 17-9. Well done, the other Brandon. And Borka played against Nick, and Borka lost this game 23-20. So it was a very close game, but Nick pulled out the win in that matchup. So that puts us at the end of this tournament. The winner was Savage. Congratulations, Savage. It was a redemption arc after the showing at the March Brew Brawl. Uh, Savage coming back for a huge win in Pittsburgh. Uh, the person who came in second was Josh, the person who I played round one, playing Criminal Syndicate with Modoc's leadership. Congratulations to him as well. Uh, and from that point down, I know that the other Brandon went 4-1
He finished
and
fourth, and Jeff finished
got
third.
fourth place. Who finished third?
Jeff, the guy I played.
Yeah, Jeff, the other Kingpin player, got third place. I got where did you go, Brad? You were ahead of me.
I got 5th. I went 3-2 and was the top X-Men player.
Well done. I got 11th. Boo, which means I got no BECC points. Oh well.
Do better.
I did.
Can't do better.
I did. I'm on the list to go right now, but we have more qualifiers for me to fall back off.
Yep. And Borka got 16th, I believe. So
Brandon,
But
what
I
was
guess
your
I don't.
place?
I guess I don't matter. I finished ninth.
oh, Brandon got 9th. Sorry.
Come on, Fred.
See, but that draw would have put me into fifth. I could have stole Brad's thunder.
No, you can't draw.
It's right there. I
Right.
see it.
Well,
Draw.
let's move
Win.
on.
Loss.
Let's move.
Draw.
Brandon, we've
Ah.
been here an hour and a half. Let's move on. All right. Before we move on, though, I want to talk. I want to give Steven a chance. Steven, are there any games you want to go over real quick?
Real quick, and I'm sure everybody's tired about hearing about Kingpin and mutants and spider foes. So, just this past Thursday, we I faced off against Robbie, who you all know. He was doing a She-Hulk, and I was doing the best faction of the game, Hydra. So we were playing on Deadly Legacy Virus and Mutant Madman at 19. He went with She-Hulk, Squirrel Girl, Wasp, Storm, and Dark Star. And I went with Baron Strucker, Viper, Baron Zemo, Hood, Iceman, and Winter Soldier Operative. Game went to 2 rounds, and then Robbie called it because I went out to a lead that was insurmountable. And plus, we had other people coming in because we showed up early. And then the second game that I played, we had a new player, Alex, and then Alex, myself, and then another newer player that we have in our group, Lex. I decided to show Alex, how this game plays because it was his very, very first game. So I asked him who he liked in the Marvel Universe, and he said Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So I ended up making a list for him to play. We kind of set it up as to play a larger game. So we did Skrulls and Riot Spark. Lex took Loki, the leader Loki, Scourge, Angela, Silver Sable, and Taskmaster. Alex ended up with Amazing Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Miles Morales, and Agent Venom. And they both had a fantastic time. Alex is definitely going to be playing more Marvel Crisis Protocol in the future. So
That's good to hear. You're recruiting so many new people.
We have like 6 new people in the last month. It's amazing.
Well done.
And you guys met one of our new people at the tournament, Sean, which Brad mentioned on his last game.
Yep. Sean was great.
All right. I do want to talk about this game real quick before we move out of this section. On Thursday, Brandon played a practice game against me playing Dracula. And holy crap, Dracula kicked my butt so badly that it's crazy. Like, I'd made all the worst mistakes I could possibly make, and Brandon essentially destroyed my list using Dracula.
Tried to talk him out of most of those mistakes. He just didn't listen.
I still made those mistakes, and it was real bad. It was really, really bad. So, on the Dracula cast, I gave Dracula an A+. I definitely should have given him an S. Definitely, he is a top tier model. Hey, speaking of which, uh, h- Steven, what
Right.
what are your thoughts, real quick, on Dracula?
Um, I
I know
think
that I'm just throwing this at you. I didn't give you
I
any
know you
preface.
you didn't prep me. I think he's good. I think he might be a little overhyped, like Namor was. Um, I know they're kind of in that same category with the threat level, so on and so forth. There are things that you can do to him. I mean, he's really susceptible to conditions, so that's probably the game that you need to play on him.
Okay, I will keep that in mind when I inevitably play against him again. I will tell you this: I've played against both Namor and against Dracula, and Dracula kicked my butt way worse. But that's kind of what
Well,
Dracula does. That's the game he plays. I know.
I think there's a card that Brad mentioned earlier in the cast that might see some uptick if Dracula gets a lot of play, and that's Grievous Wounds.
Ooh, good point. Good point. That's a good card to play into Dracula. All right, Steven, do you have the results or some of the results for our speculation corner from recently?
Yes, yes. We got the living in Contu, the Living Mummy and Frankenstein's monster revealed. Um, so far, Fred and Brad were correct on the threat value that he would be, and Fred, you were not correct on his poison effect
Yep.
uh,
I should have
card.
said hex. I should have said hex.
Should have said a hex. And on Frankenstein monster, everybody was correct. So Fred and Brad are at 2 points. Brandon is at one. We still have Abomination, Elsa Bloodstone, and Man Thing to go. But we're going to do an additional character that I overlooked entirely. And now that I look at him more, I'm like, Apocalypse who? Anyway, so we're going to try to guess the threat level for one Mephisto. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with Brad. What do you think Mephisto's threat level will pan out to be?
8.
8.
I'm making bold swings.
I guess you are. And everybody's eligible to do an enhancer on this. And Brandon, what do you think he'll be?
That's 6.
6. Fred.
I think that he will be a 7, and I would like to state my enhancer that he is going to have a leadership that is similar to Dark Dimension, where if he's in the list, it's his leadership. That's what I believe.
So you have no choice.
You have no choice.
Well,
That's
now
my
I just
enhancer.
want him to be a Dark Dimension leadership.
Oh crap!
He's not from the Dark Dimension.
See, there are too many hells in Marvel.
There are.
Uh,
I was gonna go for the it's like Dark Dimension thing.
Oh, I beat you to it.
I'm gonna go with Tactics card leadership. Even though they just did this with Dracula, I think it's gonna be like the same thing.
And Namor and New Mutants.
Well, no, I think it'll be specifically like Dracula and Hellfire Club. Yeah, Emma's.
Brandon, any guesses to it? Anything? Well, Brad, you might not be correct because they've already revealed a lot of his tactics cards, 3 of them.
3 out
We
of
know
4.
There's one. Yeah, there's one left.
There's one left.
Okay.
I'm calling my shot.
There we go.
All
I think
right.
it'll be a leadership on his card, and it'll be Dark Dimension. I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not saying it'll be like Dark Dimension, but it'll be a Dark Dimension leadership.
He's
Okay.
being very specific.
Yeah, fuck this. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna lose hard.
Specificity gives you extra points. It doesn't, but it should.
I'll just put leadership on card. Dark Dimension, that's a reach, but if you get it, I'll give you another point.
Boom.
Yeah.
Double enhancement.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's we're gonna skip trivia today, just for everyone's sake. We are running long, I will say that. So let's roll right into the person that we're here to cover today, and that is Frankenstein's monster, otherwise known as Adam. Just Adam. His defenses are 4 physical, 3 energy, and 3 mystic. He has 7 health on both sides of his card. He is a threat value of 4, a size 3, and a medium mover. Brad, do you want to go over his attack suite?
Okay. Physical Frank's fists. Range 2, 6 dice free. Gain 1 power. Wild, hit, push. Character size 4 or less. Push the target character short. That's not a direction. Physical Thick Skull. Range 2, 5 dice, cost 1. After this attack is resolved, if damage was dealt, the target character gains the stagger special condition. And physical, the monster's fury, range 2, 6 dice, cost 4. Add dice to the attack roll equal to the amount of damage this character has. And crit wild hurl. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 4 or less, they're the target character medium.
All right, Brandon, why don't you do the first 2 superpowers? Oh, I'm not giving much for Steven. Oh well. Brandon, first 2 superpowers.
He has an active charge for 2 power. It's just normal charge. He can immediately make a move action followed by an attack action, so it's not specific to any attack. And then Frake's Rampage, which should be Adam's Rampage, but that's besides the point. For 3 power, choose an interactive trade feature size 4 or less within 2, throw it medium. It can only be used once per turn.
All right, and Steven.
All right.
Finish.
You have an active superpower replacement parts, will cost 2 power. Remove 2 damage from this character. The superpower can be used only once per turn. And he has an innate, which is immunity to shock.
Okay, so that is the card for Frankenstein. Do you know what Frankenstein's tactics card is called?
Hideous Monster.
Hideous Monster. Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, it's an unaffiliated reactive card. When an enemy character targets another allied character within 3 of an allied Frankenstein's monster with an attack, the allied character may spend 2 power to play this card. Place Frankenstein's monster within 1 of the allied character, he becomes the target of the attack, regardless of range and line of sight. After the attack is resolved, if he is not dazed or KO'd, you roll dice equal to the number of damage he has. The enemy character suffers a damage for each wild or crit and wild rolled. If the enemy character suffers damage this way, you push it towards him short.
Okay. Probably aside from the leadership, probably the best tactics card we got in the monster box. A very useful tactics card.
I
Not
think this tactics
probably,
card's better than this
definitely.
one. This is probably better than the leadership too.
Probably better than the leadership. Yeah, a great tactics card. Anyone where it's an innate, like they take the hit instead of the person your opponent wants to take the hit, is a great card. And then there's an added effect which damages the opponent automatic. Well, it's not automatic damage, but it's a pretty good chance. And you push them, you displace them in some way towards Frankenstein, who Frankenstein likes to be close because all of his attacks are range 2. That's good. This is a good card. Yeah. Let's talk about Frankenstein himself. I know that Brandon has played him. So what was your quick takeaway from the little game that we had where you annihilated me?
So fun fact, those tactics cards like Prince's Protection, Heroes for Hire, Lethal Protector, Hideous Monster are really good cards. If you play those models, you should probably play those cards. Angel has one too, but I do not remember Angel's off the top of my head.
It's like
Yeah,
Noble
Angel has one.
Sacrifice or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Adam did really well. He the The
I like
biggest
just
thing,
referring to him as Adam. That's really good.
yeah. I'm not gonna call him Frankenstein's monster. That's way too long. Um, yeah, I mean his spinner's really good, especially if he has the power for it, because he does not generate power well. That was the biggest thing. So I was able to play the tactics card and then charge, and then the entirety of the rest of the game he did not really have power, because Fred was not in a spot to attack him at any point, and he couldn't really make attacks, so he just kind of held down a flank and stood on points. Um, Threatening the thick skull if he got near me. Um, wasn't something that Fred was really about at this time because he had he got hurt a lot on not his activation because he
Hmm.
kept attacking Venom and Dracula at the same time and they just kept punching him in the face. Um, but having a size 4 terrain throw is really good. He can heal himself. That's his only real defensive tech, and it's only during his turn. So like he does roll 4 physical 3/3 with 7 health, so he's not gonna die super easy. Um, he has 3 really good attacks. Um, I understand why he doesn't have a builder. If he was able to throw and charge and heal, um, in like the same turn, it would be really really gross. So it makes a lot of sense for him not to have a builder. He'd probably been way too good if he had a builder. So he played really good. I think he's going to fit in a lot of lists. I think he's going to see a lot of play. If he has multiple affiliations, I think he'll see play in those. But I think you're going to see this model splashed in some places too. Um, Playing him on Affinity Formula is like a dream come true. Um, just giving him the extra power. Actually, like
Playing it, wouldn't he be even better with cubes
yes,
and
I was good. I was
Infinity
good.
Form?
Yeah, Infinity Formula and cubes. If he can just sit on the back point and just get 3 power a turn, I guess he's just living the absolute dream over there. So,
And then he
uh,
can heal himself if he really gets low on health.
yeah, so you can, and having stagger is really good. I mean, you have to deal damage, so it's not automatic, but you can displace almost everyone in the game with your builder or your gainer as well as your spender.
Wakey wakey.
Yeah, on specific triggers, obviously, but that spender can roll a heck of a lot of dice, up to 12. And 6 dice spender, wild hits not unreasonable on 6 dice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and having a 5 size 5 or less push is really good, and it can be any direction. So displacement's good. He'd be like
Why do you say
perfect.
size 5 or less?
I
Wait.
was saying size 4, but I kept saying 5/4.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the word size and 5 were my brain was not comprehending properly.
We were all tired.
Yeah. But yeah, the I mean he'd be a perfect model if his rampage was interactive terrain or character. But again, I think honestly if Frank's Fist was a builder and rampage through a character as well, I think this model would be entirely too good.
Yeah. That's kind of my thoughts too. I think that this character will be power starved. That's just how he's built. He will spend his power all the time, and he desperately needs more of it. I don't know if there's he will play a lot on like Brandon said, an Infinity Formula and struggle for the cubes. Uh,
There's a lot of leaderships that also give power to people.
yes, like Doc Ock. If now Doc Ock, he has to be targeted by attacks, and I think that the best way to play against Frankenstein's monster is to not attack him and let him be starved of power.
But
But
like
that might
you
not
have
be an option.
yeah, but then you have
The best thing that the Frankenstein's monster player can do is put him in a place where your opponent has to deal with him, like in the dead center of the board or right on a point that they really desperately need to capture. And that is what this guy is going to be doing. He's going to take hits. If he survives, he will shell out the pain.
yeah.
And that is kind of the role that he's going to play. Brad, do you have any thoughts that you want to share about Frankenstein's monster?
I don't know. He seems pretty good for a 4 pointer. Charge, stagger, terrain throw, character throw on his spender, Like he seems like exactly how they've been designing fours. Good, solid characters will get played in their factions, do a lot of stuff. He's very healthy.
A couple of interesting like thematic elements.
Yeah,
Like he's immune to shock. I like that he's immune to shock.
yeah,
That's
that's
fun.
a good one. But being 7/7 with a heal is like that seems really good, even if he doesn't have like defensive tech. That is his defensive tech.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Steven.
and he's got good stuff. No, sorry, I was just agreeing.
Okay, yeah. Steven, what are your thoughts here on Frankenstein's monster?
It's hard not to like him, but the range 2 is kind of limiting on everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what charges here. I understand the action economy,
I
but
think you answered your own question. It's because all of his attacks are range 2.
but it costs power.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish charge wasn't there and he had aggressive instead.
I like charge better.
But maybe charge and aggressive.
Por qué no los dos?
Yeah,
I think that if he had aggressive, he would be. I think this character is very good. I think he's not overpowered. I feel like this is in the correct range for a character that will see play in all likelihood, but won't feel game breakingly good to your opponents. Like you can kill this guy. Like you can shell out 7 damage without a whole lot of trouble, and he'll go down. He's just very tough and can hurt you back if you fail to take him down. That's
this
kind
is
of
a
how he's built.
model. This is also a model you can tell that like this is the corrected design of this model. Like it just feels like it's like, oh, they made this originally and he had like a builder and a character throw, and then they like played a game and they were like, we fucked up. Let's take that away. Let's tone this down. Then they're like probably had like one of his attacks was probably like range 3. And they're like, oh yeah. Like this feels like a model that they tested and corrected, which is really nice to see. Um
When they didn't do that for Dracula.
Dracula's fine.
Yeah, I know. I'm joking.
Maybe my thing about aggressive. Maybe that's why they put Warpath back in there. Like, hey, Frank needs some help.
Hey, you might be right. I
Well,
bet Frank would love Warpath.
there's a scenario too, like Abomination and like the Wrecking Crew also may be really into like Warpath. Like there could be a reason that they brought Warpath back to make it better, but Warpath is, I mean, it's probably going to see some play. Like I don't think Fallback sees any play anymore. So I think there's a really good scenario that you start seeing more play with cards like Warpath. Like there's not a lot of unaffiliated tactics cards.
Yeah, and that makes Warpath really, really good, especially for the monsters box, because most of them are on 50 millimeter bases, so you actually get a little bit more use out of it.
Mm-hmm.
For
Get more
movement.
bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's give this guy a letter grade. So I think this guy's going to be a 4-threat staple. Like he will be in monster lists, I think. He's the only 4-threat monster, and I think that he's good. He's good enough to see play. He's
Oh, we lost Fred.
taking. Oh, uh-oh. Have I been lost?
No,
Can you
you're
hear me?
back now, Fred.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I bumped my mic. Yeah, this guy is going to see a lot of play in monster lists. He's 4 threats. Oh, I've lost what I was saying. Anyway, I think he's good. I'm gonna give him a because he's power starved and because he will depend upon taking damage to gain power and to be more effective for his spender. You're depending on your opponent doing what you want him to do, which is attack Frankenstein's monster. I'm going to give him a B, a solid B. That's where I am. All right, Brad, what are your thoughts?
I think whatever affiliations he's in, he will see play. Not good enough to be splashed. Um, I hate to do this again, but I'm gonna agree with Fred at a B. This happened 2 weeks
Steve,
ago with Viper, and I didn't feel good then either.
Steven, what are your thoughts?
Actually, I that tactics card is kind of like fire. So I'm
It
sorry.
is.
I
It's
gotta
very
go.
good.
I gotta go higher. I gotta go B plus at least.
Okay. All right. And the tactics card uh fixes what I was saying. Like it makes your opponent attack him.
That's true.
That's a good point.
It's true.
Brandon, what are your thoughts here on Frankenstein? On Adam. I'm
Adam.
sorry.
This is
Yeah.
Adam. Don't disrespect Adam like that. Um, I think he does everything you want a four threat model to do. I think he's really good. I think he's going to see some splash play. I think there's actually a decent amount of affiliations that he fits in really well. Um, and I think he is going to see a lot of play with like Dracula. Um, it would have been really cool if he had a bodyguard. Like we haven't seen that in a long time. I was kind of hoping for a bodyguard on this character just because it's kind of fitting in theory. Um, so I would have really liked that. And I would trade any of the superpowers for a bodyguard. Um, but I think he's still really good. I think the underplay on the tactics card is the thing that I'm going to hold him up. Like those tactics cards will make you play those models, especially when they have a clap back or something to like doing damage on the opponents. Being able to hold it to where if your opponent's making an attack and they only have like one damage left could really just be detrimental and in their activation. Cough, Fred. Um,
Cough Cyclops.
so there's a lot of things. Yeah. So there's a lot of good. I think the tactics card makes it good enough, and I think there's enough of. There's going to be, especially with like a lot of affiliations popping up, like Thralls and Hellfire Club. They need tactics cards. I think this model is going to see a good amount of play in Hellfire Club. I think it's going to see play in Dracula. Um, I think if he's Shield affiliated, I think he's going to see play in Shield. Um, so I think he's going to see enough play to warrant my grade, which is an A minus.
All right then. Okay. Well, that is our take on Frankenstein's monster. Brad, do you have any comic book recommendations that feature our boy here, Adam?
I do. Okay, I have two today. The first one is a series. On the cover, it says two different things depending on which issue you have, but its official title is just Frankenstein from 1973, and there were 18 issues. And this is Gary Friedrich and Doug Monch and a bunch of the classic Marvel artists like John Romita Sr. worked on this book throughout its run. So the art's probably outstanding. I have not actually read this series. But this is a solo series for Frankenstein's monster. The first 3 issues retell Mary Shelley's novel, and then he gets put in suspended animation, which makes sense if you've read the novel and you know how that ends. That could have naturally happened. Fred, have you read Frankenstein?
I've never actually read the book. No.
Okay, because the end,
I have.
it's
That's not true. I have read it.
it's a lot different than the movies and stuff make it out to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
But at the end, and this isn't really a spoiler, but at the end, he jumps off of a boat in like the
In
Arctic.
the Arctic.
And
Yeah.
so he could have just been frozen and then thawed out later. But he something happens in between. There's like one issue that takes place in like 1898 or something, and then the rest of the series takes place in the 70s. So he is in modern times, goes on adventures in the Marvel universe, and when like I came across this series in my research for this week, I thought there's no way this series was on Marvel Unlimited. Except it is. All 18 issues are on Marvel Unlimited. You could read it.
All right. Well, what's the second? Your second recommendation?
So I picked something more modern for the second recommendation. Fear
Okay.
Itself, The Fearsome Four. And this is Brandon Montclair. And there's a bunch of artists on the issues. Like, issue 1 has 3 different artists. So there's no way I could name them all. But the Fear Itself event is I've talked about on the podcast before. It's where this bad guy, this Asgardian bad guy called the Serpent, makes a bunch of evil hammers like Mjolnir and throws them on Earth, and people pick them up and get possessed by these ancient evils. I think it might be like the Asgardian version of the Titans. I don't remember what they're called. I
Is
said it
this
last time.
is
But
this what the Crisis is based off of?
yeah, this is what the Crisis is based off of.
Okay.
And it part of what happens is there's like this feeling of fear and dread throughout the world. And so this drives Man Thing crazy because he's really tied into fear. Those who know fear burn at the Man Thing's touch. And he's in New York City for some reason. I don't know. And he kind of goes on a rampage. And so these 4 characters team up to stop him. And it is She-Hulk, Nighthawk, which is kind of a Batman type character, Frankenstein's
No idea.
monster, and Howard the Duck.
What? What a wild four people.
And
What a wild 4 people.
they get transformed into monsters and start running amok themselves, and so they are both the good guys and the bad guys of this series, and it's crazy. It's a crazy series. You'll just have to read it. But yeah,
What's Howard doing in New York City? He's from Cleveland.
he spends a lot of time in New York City, in his comics. He travels around a lot, but the Marvel Universe is centered around New York City, so he does spend a lot of time in New York City.
You think Cleveland's right next to New York then? Jeez.
It's not that far.
It's 468 miles.
That's not that far.
Quite far.
It's
Quite
a lot
far.
closer than
It's
L.A.
True, but it's still a 10-hour drive.
Yeah,
That
I
was
wouldn't.
way too fast of an answer.
Yeah, he had that right on tap.
He had that locked up.
Not that I've driven that before.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, thank you, Brad. Brandon, is there a list where you think that Adam would work very well?
Yeah. I just do want to verify the leadership before I say something stupid. Because Brad would love it if I mess this up. Yep, all right, it works out. Xavier. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. Does not have to be an uncanny. It does not have to be an affiliated like uncanny X-Men model.
No. Can be
So, yep, and X-Men play a lot of models that use a lot of abilities, and so you can always give the power to Frankenstein's monster.
That is a great place for him. You can power him
Yeah.
up real easy.
Yeah, and that's the one thing because I when I played against it, I read that like 20 times because I was like, there's no way you can just keep giving the power to one person, and you can.
Mm-hmm.
You could just keep giving it to one person. So like I didn't do any damage to Cable, and every time Cable activated, he had like 8 power because he would just kept giving it to Cable, and Cable was just he was just shooting and throwing everything he wanted at me.
That was how it was
in
with
the
me and
tournament.
Dave too. And he always had power.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good spot for him. Gives them not a lot of X-Men have size 4 like terrain throws. I mean Bishop obviously does, but like having the terrain
Rogue.
throw.
The only problem I have with your suggestion, Brandon, is he kind of fills the same role as Rogue, but Rogue is affiliated.
Rogue is affiliated, but you don't need all your models to be affiliated because this doesn't affect it. Also,
It
he
matters for
can
tactics cards.
Yeah, the tactics cards can come into play, but you also get a really good tactics card in response.
You do in a faction that has a lot of really good tactics cards. I'm not saying this is a
Yeah,
bad choice, Brandon. I don't want to say
yeah,
that.
I know.
But
But also, I feel like playing against X-Men stuff, like having a sacrifice style card that's not restricted, is something that that affiliation probably would enjoy since they used to play sacrifice a good bit. So I think it's pretty good. Yeah, and I think Rogue's great and criminally underplayed. So if you're playing Rogue, like I don't think that's a swap you would make. I think this is more of if you've forgotten that Rogue exists, you can play this. But his stagger also helps. The tactics card's good, and you have an easy way to just power him up. But he can't be first classed, so
Right. He cannot be to me my X-Men.
he cannot play Children of the Atom.
All right. Let's
that
move on.
should be he should be. He is a child of Adam.
Actually, yeah, it should be Children of.
Atom.
Okay,
AMG, I
all
need
right,
an
let's move
errata.
on. We got to wrap this up because we're rolling up close to 2 hours. So the only thing that's left is my non sequitur recommendation, and this one's an easy one. I'm always up for recommending that people go watch an old Mel Brooks movie. So go watch Young Frankenstein.
It's a good pick
Mel
this week,
Brooks,
Fred.
yeah, Mel Brooks is one of my favorite directors. I love most of his work.
Yeah, you can't
That
make Blazing Saddles today, though.
No.
no, you couldn't.
Because they already made it.
Well, yeah. Blazing Saddles, a perfect movie. Everyone should go watch that as well. But watch Young Frankenstein first. It is Gene Wilder at his most charismatic and fun. And it is just it's a blast of a movie. You will laugh until your sides hurt. And that is my recommendation. And that is it for our episode today. Thank you to all three of you for joining me and talking about Adam. And sorry, everyone listening, for how I guess I feel like we haven't really been that low energy. Uh, we've just been tired. This has just been a rushed episode too because we spent so much time on the tournament. All right, thank you everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the week. Goodbye.